are some rookie sleepers that you should be targeting for your dynasty team. So we're talking about that in today's video. As always, guys, if you like dynasty content, make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button. I think we're just a couple of subscribers away from hitting 1250. Dynasty rookie drafts for some of you maybe are underway or starting soon or sometime in May. Who knows when you do them? But these are some rookies as of now, Wednesday, April 30th, that I think you should be targeting either very late in your rookie drafts or even as undrafted free agents. So all these guys, the earliest that someone was drafted in the NFL draft is the 5th round. I'm basically ignoring rounds 1 through 4. I'm assuming that almost all those guys, if not all of them, are going to be drafted or heavily targeted in your waiver wires after your rookie drafts. So don't ask me, where's this guy, because that's just what I'm doing. Also, there's some other players in here that were drafted later. Ollie Gordon, Devin Neal are a couple just to name that I'm leaving off this list because, again, from what I'm seeing, those guys are still going to get drafted late 3rd or 4th round or even earlier. So these are guys that I truly believe have a very good chance of being undrafted. So we're starting off with the quarterback position, Will Howard. Now, he's one of these where I think there's a very good chance he is drafted. So, but still wanted to shout him out. Drafted 6th round by the Steelers. And, there were a lot of people that kind of there's enough people that I respect that liked Will Howard as a prospect that kind of floated him out there as maybe he's like the QB4 in this draft or something, because there was a lot. This is pre NFL draft, obviously, but but potentially he's a top 5 quarterback in this draft class, and that he has some potential. And look, he goes to the Steelers, and they're currently waiting for Aaron Rodgers. Now, seems like from what they're all saying that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but what if he isn't? What if he isn't? I think there's some concerns with Rodgers in terms of injuries. I know he basically played all last year until he kind of got benched, but he was injured for basically all but just 3 or 4 games. There were a lot of injuries that Rodgers took, and he's a 41-year-old quarterback who, you have to worry about those things. So Will Howard, to me, if Rodgers doesn't come to the Steelers, could be a week 1 starter. That's how crazy it is. Now, it's probably Mason Rudolph, but I would put the number of games that Will Howard's going to be starting in 2025, if Rodgers is not on the team, I would put it over 3 or 4 games, right? And so there's value there. There's going to be value there as soon as he's announced as the starter. If he is, you're going to be able to trade him for more than what you drafted him. So Will Howard is someone that I'm definitely targeting in Superflex leagues, of course. And also Quinn Ewers is another one. And this is something that's really important, and it's going to be a little bit of a theme for a few of these players on this list, is that everyone who follows college football, everyone who even casually follows college football knows who Quinn Ewers is. They know Quinn Ewers and his name. And so for that reason, he has value just because of that, right? He has value just because of that, So if Quinn Ewers, who's on the Dolphins, and he's probably going to be the QB3 if I had to guess, behind Tua, obviously, and Zach Wilson. But if something happens to Tua, you're going to be getting they should start Quinn Ewers. You're going to get people that are saying, there's going to be people, even in my live streams, there was people commenting and saying, what percentage chance do you think Quinn Ewers has of overtaking Tua or, replacing Tua if he gets injured? There's people asking that about a 7th round pick in the NFL draft. There was other quarterbacks taken in the 7th round. Curtis Rourke of the 49ers was taken in the 7th round. Cam Miller and Tommy Mellott, although I think he's going to be like a Taysom Hill, but Cam Miller by the Raiders, late 6th round. Why is no one saying that about Cam Miller? Why is no one saying that about Curtis Rourke replacing Brock Purdy for due to an injury? Why? Because we don't really know those guys. Obviously, we know those guys if you follow college football, but they don't have that value of, they don't have potentially, these guys were never mocked in mock drafts in the 2nd or 3rd round. Quinn Ewers was. At one time, Quinn Ewers was thought to be a 1st-round pick, and for that reason, he has kind of that dynasty value, that perceived dynasty value. And so I think I'm going to take a shot on Quinn Ewers just for that reason. Not that I think he's a good quarterback, not that I think he'll ever start, but I think if something happens to Tua, you're going to be able to float that out there to other people in the league, in my opinion. Into the running back position, Bashard Smith's one of my favorite running backs, and he's probably going to get drafted because, again, dynasty managers are pretty smart these days. Round 7, though. He's a round 7 pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. And to me, this is a Samaje Perine, Jerick McKinnon replacement. I think the Chiefs desperately miss a player like Jerick McKinnon. I don't think it's a coincidence that the last big year from Mahomes was when Jerick McKinnon was really good for this team. That was kind of like the last. It was 2022, right? 2022. Patrick Mahomes threw for 5,200 yards and 41 touchdowns. I don't think it's a coincidence that. Now, I'm not saying Bashard Smith's going to make Patrick Mahomes go to a 5,000-yard, 40-touchdown guy. But I still think there's that potential for Mahomes, and I think they were desperately missing that difference maker, that playmaker in the passing game at the running back position. Samaje Perine, although he did have a good yards per reception, I think it was 11 or something, which is incredible for a running back. I don't think he was that explosive difference maker that they were looking for. A little bit of an older guy. How old was Samaje Perine? He was 29 years old last year. Jerick McKinnon, in 2022, you look at his numbers, 800 total yards, 10 touchdowns, and 56 catches. Jerick McKinnon was absolutely fantasy relevant that year. Absolutely. If you're putting up 50-plus catches with 10 touchdowns and 800 total yards, you are 100% fantasy relevant there. Actually, Jerick McKinnon that year was the RB 26 in points per game and the RB 20 in total points. That's how good Jerick McKinnon was, and he had an incredible second half of the year. So I think Bashard Smith could really fill that role. I look at the players they have on their team now. I think we all expected the Chiefs to go and draft a running back, and they didn't, draft one early on. But Isaiah Pacheco is not the pass catcher you're looking for. I think he's averaged 6 yards per reception the last couple of years. Kareem Hunt is not the guy you're looking for. Elijah Mitchell is not the guy you're looking for. Carson Steele, not the guy you're looking for. I think Bashard Smith, he does something different. He does something different than those other running backs, and he does it extremely well, in my opinion. He's a converted wide receiver to running back. He caught 40 passes last year, so for SMU. And so I'm not one to just discredit guys strictly because of draft capital. Now, draft capital does affect when and where I draft guys, but I still think that anyone has a shot. Anyone has a shot to be relevant in football, no matter where you were drafted or if you were undrafted, like some of these players on this list were. Jaori Kroski Merritt is up next. Now, this is a guy that I really do think that you could potentially get off the waiver wire. And he went to the Commanders in round 7. Commanders were another one of those teams that a lot of people were thinking they were going to take someone maybe as early as the late first round, second round. We all thought they were going to take someone. I personally thought they were going to take someone because I'm not the biggest Brian Robinson fan. So obviously he's a winner. But Jaori Kroski Merritt is an interesting one. I talked about him before the NFL draft as one of my favorite sleepers in dynasty rookie drafts. Here's his story. So he played at Alabama State, I believe it was. Played at Alabama State for 4 years, from 2019 to 2022, I believe. So he played 19, 21, and 2 at Alabama State, right? After that, he transferred to New Mexico in 2023. And he had a good season. He put up almost 1,200. He put up over 1,250 total yards, averaged 6.3 yards per attempt, 18 total touchdowns. Then he transfers in 2024 to Arizona, plays in one game, rushes for over 100 yards, and then has eligibility issues and misses the rest of the year. After that, the next time we see Jaori Kroski Merritt is at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where he's the offensive MVP, right? That's his story right now. So he's an interesting running back. He has good size. He's 5'11", 210. He runs a 4.45. He has a really good vertical. He did really well in the combine stuff. His 40-yard time was good. His vertical, his broad jump, all these things were really damn good. So I just think there's an opening here because I don't think Brian Robinson is this special player where it's no one can overtake him. He's not one of those special running backs. He's not Jonathan Taylor. It's different if you get drafted to the Colts, right? If you get drafted to the Colts in round 7, you're not overtaking you're not overtaking Jonathan Taylor. But I do think he has some potential here to overtake Brian Robinson eventually, or at least play a role for this team, be the RB2 for this team. So I'll be interested to see. I know Austin Eckler's still there. Austin Eckler has his role. Austin Eckler is one of those players. Yeah, he's the RB2, but if the RB1 goes down, he's going to kind of keep his role, and the RB3 is going to be elevated. That's kind of how I see it. So keep an eye on Jaori Kroski Merritt. I think he's an interesting player that I'm going to be taking a shot on. Kyle Manungai. There's a lot of running backs on this list. Kyle Manungai going to the Bears in round 7. This is another guy that I think will get drafted quite a lot. Although I did see a rookie draft, live rookie draft on someone else's channel where Manungai went, I believe, at the 412. So like, there's a very good chance that he doesn't get drafted. Now he gets drafted by the Bears. And what were we saying about the Bears? We were saying, oh, they're going to draft someone, right? They have Swift. Ben Johnson hates Swift. So Swift is a winner, but they still do need someone. I don't think they're going to roll out DeAndre Swift to touch the ball 300 times this year. That's not what the Bears are going to want to do. Now, could they just pass the ball? Like, it seems like the Bears are just going to throw the ball 700 times, right? That's like the path they're going to take with all those pass catchers. But I truly believe, like, one, I think Swift still has value, whether or not they bring someone in or whatever. But I think they want to limit Swift to, about 215 touches, right? They want to give him 150 carries. They want to give him, 40, 50 catches in that range, right? So I think there's a chance. Now, I do think they probably bring someone in, a J.K. Dobbins and Nick Chubb. I don't know. But Kyle Manungai, like, what else is there? You have Roschon Johnson, right? You have Roschon Johnson. You have DeAndre Swift. But, like, there's kind of an open backfield, at least for the RB3. He's probably already the RB3, Manungai, because you have Travis Homer, I believe, still there. Like, so Manungai is the RB3 in a team where I don't think the RB1 is going to be carrying the ball 300 times or touching the ball 300 times. I'm very interested in Kyle Manungai. Pretty productive running back at his time at Rutgers and in college. I don't think he does anything special, which is why he got drafted probably in the 7th round. But, like, I also didn't think Isaiah Pacheco was this, is he the next Isaiah Pacheco, by the way? Both went to Rutgers. But Manungai, super productive the last 2 years, over 1,300 total yards each of the last 2 years. Caught 15 balls last year. So take a stab on Manungai and see what happens. Kahlil Mullings is up next here. This is another guy that I think will go undrafted. Goes round 6 to the Titans. And the only thing I'll say about Kahlil Mullings is, he's a converted linebacker to running back. So he really is raw in terms of his skill set. He's huge. Like, he's 6'1". I think he's like 240 or 235 or something like that. So he's a big boy. I mean, he was a linebacker, right? So 6'2", 226 is what I'm seeing here. He's not fast. He probably runs like in the low 4.6s and things like that. But doesn't have a lot of experience at the running back position, just 2 years at Michigan as a running back. But really, his first year converted to a running back, he only had 36 carries, has done nothing in the passing game. That's to be expected from playing at Michigan. Has only caught 8 passes in his career. But, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry. He's just a big bruising back. What I like about him is that he is very different from Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. So I look at Pollard and Tajay Spears, and they're kind of like carbon copies of each other a little bit smaller, slightly undersized running backs that are good pass catchers, a little bit more explosive. Maybe you don't want them touching the ball each, or one person touching the ball 300 times. Maybe they're just going to split carries. But Mullins does something different, which intrigues me because I think that could potentially get him on the field if the team feels like Pollard and Spears are a little bit redundant, right? So odds are, because of his linebacker history, odds are that he's probably just a special teams guy, plays on kick coverage and punt coverage and stuff like that. But keep an eye on Kahlil Mullings and the news around him. Last guy here is actually undrafted. It's Marcus Yarns. Marcus Yarns going to the Saints undrafted. The Saints were also another team that we floated around as a possible team to get one of these top running backs, and they didn't draft anyone until Devin Neal in the 6th round. I like Devin Neal, and I think that Devin Neal is going to have an opportunity here. I'm kind of out on Kendre Miller. The guy's really done nothing in his career, couldn't stay healthy. Coach didn't like him. got an opportunity or two last year. I think he started one game last year and didn't look, 2 games last year and didn't really do anything. He had 8 carries and 3 carries in those games. Didn't really even play that much. That was when I believe Kamara was out. So it's like, man, I'm not a big fan of Kendre Miller. So I think there's room for Devin Neal, and I think there's room for Marcus Yarns, who to me is, he's an interesting one because he's an undersized guy, right? He's an undersized guy. He played at Maryland. I think he's under 200 pounds, but he ran a 4.45. His combine was great. His 40-yard time was really good. His 10-yard split was above average. His vertical, his broad jump were good. And I think this guy, he can catch the ball pretty well. Like, I think he's a very good, explosive running back, like that change of pace kind of running back, that Keaton Mitchell type of guy, right? So I think, when he hits the hole, man, there's no catching him type of thing. Like his long speed, maybe his 40-yard time isn't great, but it seems like his long speed is really, really good. His 40-yard time is good. I don't know why I said it wasn't great. It was a 4.45, which is, I think, in the 80th percentile somewhere. So anyways, Marcus Yarns, I think, could be that change of pace type of back potentially. Again, this is a dart throw, an undrafted guy, both in the NFL draft and your rookie drafts, but someone that I'll take a shot on. Tory Horton, one of my favorite, pre-draft guys, more to take, when we were doing live dynasty rookie drafts, one of my favorite guys to take late in those dynasty rookie drafts at the wide receiver position. And he's another guy where I have some interest in Tory Horton because I know he goes to Seattle round 5, which, we're thinking, oh my God, JSN, Cooper Kupp. They also drafted Elijah Arroyo and players like that. So, like, there's a lot of just like, really? Like, are you that excited about Tory Horton? I am, because I think he does things incredibly. He plays a different role than Kupp and JSN. He's going to be their outside vertical type of player, right? That's what I think Tory Horton's going to be. He's going to play on the outside. And so I'm worried about if they drafted someone that I think only projects to play, on the inside, because that's Kupp and JSN and maybe even Arroyo, although I think Arroyo is going to play more of that vertical tight end role. But Tory Horton, to me, very, very productive in college. Put up in 2022, he played at Colorado State, by the way, put up 1,130 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. 2023, he had 96 catches, 1,130 yards, 8 touchdowns. Last year, only played in 6 games. But put up 350 yards in those 6 games. So he was kind of putting up. He was probably on pace for a pretty good year there. Not quite as good, but a pretty good year. He had a game where he dominated Colorado. I think that was in 2023, which is awesome to watch. I just like Tory Horton. I think he has an intriguing skill set, and I think he has a role on this Seattle's offense because, again, like, they need someone to play on the outside consistently. I don't think it's going to be Cooper Kupp at his age. Maybe it's a little bit more of JSN, but they also need someone who's, I think, not only can play outside, but can really like thrive outside, right? So, Tory Horton, some of his measurables, he ran a 4.41, which is awesome. His vertical was pretty good, which, vertical does translate over a little bit. His 10-yard split was above average. Really good yards per route run. Average 3.45 yards per route run, doesn't really drop the ball too much, can make contested catches, and also can get open. So just keep an eye on Tory Horton. I think he has a role for this team. And again, Cooper Kupp's a little bit older as well. Like, so there's some things here. Like, they don't have an extremely deep wide receiver room anymore outside of JSN and Cooper Kupp. It's a lot of question marks. I guess MVS is there as well, who's probably going to play that role. But we know what MVS is. Sure, he probably holds that role away from Tory Horton year 1, but this is more of a 2026 and beyond type of move. Xavier Restrepo is another one, going to the Titans, which is a plus. It reunites with Cam Ward, his college teammate, which is a plus. And also, Restrepo, like what I talked about with Quinn Urie, if you followed mock drafts from January up until the draft actually happened, Xavier Restrepo, especially early on in the process, was consistently mocked as like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Goes to show you that we don't really know a lot when we're talking about, once we get outside of like the top 10, man, things just change. The top 10, 15 players, it's really hard to predict. Mock drafts are really hard to make. But Xavier Restrepo, he was consistently mocked in the second or third round. And so people are going to be a little bit more open to the idea of him being something than they are some other players. No one's talking about fourth round pick Chimere Dike, out of Florida going to the Titans, right? No one's really talking about Arian Smith, fourth round to the Jets, right? No one's talking about Jordan Watkins. I'm talking about dynasty community. No one's talking about Jordan Watkins, fourth round to the 49ers. Why? Because these guys, we didn't even know their names. Most of us didn't even know their names before they were drafted because they were never in mock drafts. Never. DK was, but Arian Smith and Jordan Watkins, I don't remember those guys being in mock drafts. Definitely not in 3-round mock drafts. And I didn't even see them in a lot of these 7th-round mock drafts. So 7-round mock drafts. So that's why it matters. That's why the pre-draft process, whether it's right or wrong, people are going to be more open to the fact of Restrepo being something and he's going to have more perceived value than a Jordan Watkins, than even guys like Jalen Lane potentially, because Restrepo played at Miami, had a good year, was mocked in the second or third round consistently, reunites with Cam Ward, playing on the Titans, who have a pretty open receiving room. They didn't take a wide receiver till the 4th round. So a lot of interesting factors here. So Xavier Restrepo is probably someone I'm going to be adding as an undrafted guy. And then the last one here is a tight end, Aronde Gadsden II. Kind of goes back into the idea of Quinn Urie and Restrepo of this was another guy that, people were talking about. He's basically a tweener. He's either a big wide receiver or a small tight end. He's even listed as a wide receiver / tight end. Super productive in college. When he played and was healthy, he was very productive. He was kind of Syracuse's main guy here. He had 2 years of where he was healthy. 2022, he put up 975 yards and 6 touchdowns. 2024, 73 catches, 934 yards, 7 touchdowns. So incredibly productive, but usually these guys don't work out. That being said, there's some openings here, I guess. I don't think he replaces Tyler Conklin, but there's some potential here, I guess, going to the Chargers, and they drafted him in round 5, which is, that means they thought a little bit highly of this guy, drafting him in round 5. So that is all that is all that I have for you guys. Again, if you like Dynasty content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and join our Discord. Link is in the description. If you want to into a real money league, we have one more league, a 3rd listener league to fill up, and we're going to be doing that Dynasty startup hopefully pretty soon. Appreciate everyone. Catch you guys all in the next video.